It's always lovely to have her back on the show and say hello. Fern Britton, live from her home in Cornwall. Hi, Fern, how are you doing?
Really good, really good. I couldn't have been in a better place, I think, when lockdown happened, because I feel a bit guilty that I'm in heaven here. It's lovely.
Yeah. Well, you know, as we speak to you now, everybody's looking at your wallpaper. That's
good, isn't it?
That's what people do. We should tell you, Fern's head is hiding the toilet door.
Bathroom.
Or the bathroom. Or bathroom.
We say bathroom.
Bathroom door. So, okay, there you go. There you go. That's what I thought you were strategically, beautifully placed there. Lovely. Well done. Well done. Now, you have been very...
My daughter is in there having a bath, so she knows that when I shout, all clear, she can come out.
Oh, dear.
Right,
oh,
we better
dear.
not talk about it then, because she can probably hear us. What we do want to talk about is your new book, Daughters of Cornwall, your 9th book. You're now a prolific author. Where did the idea... So this is set in 3 different times, isn't it?
Yes, 3 generations,
3 generations.
Of 3 women, yes. And it starts...
No,
sorry.
You go.
OK, it starts with the story of a woman during... or just before the First World War, who accidentally finds that she's pregnant and has to have a little boy and has to give it away, and because of the shame of that time. And then she goes on to marry and have 3 more children with somebody else. And oddly, that is the story of my grandmother, which we didn't know until, Ruth, you and I were working together in 1980 at Westwood Television.
Yes, I was at school. I remember that. I remember when I came home from school, I could watch that.
Yeah,
anyway.
Fern and I go back a long way.
Don't go there. Yeah. We all have history. So in my grandmother died in 1966, I think, when I was about 9, and we discovered in 1980, when I was working at Westwood Television, a man who was on holiday down in Cornwall with his wife wrote to me and said, I've been down on holiday, seen you. Are you the granddaughter of... and gave my grandmother's name. And I thought, well, that's odd. So I wrote back. But anyway, I said, yes, yes. And then he came back with another letter saying, well, I know this sounds peculiar, but I think I am your half-uncle, your grandmother's son, your mother's half-brother.
Wow.
And yes. And so I had to write again, no emails, to say, well, I need proof before I tell my mother. I was only about 23, 24 at the time. So I was very kind of, whoa. And so I went home, had Sunday lunch with my mother, waited for till we got to the washing up. She was washing up. I was drying up. And I went, oh, I've had this letter. And I told her, and she just looked out of the window for a minute. And then she went, well, I'm not surprised, because apparently when my grandmother was very ill and close to dying, she did say, I've been a very wicked woman. I've done some wicked things. And of course, you know, my mother and her brothers would have said to her, don't be silly, you're wonderful. But it was this, I think, it was this. Yeah. And so that's inspired this story of how a woman, in a time when it was such shame to have a child, the sin was definitely the woman's, not the man's. And she had to give her little boy away, and how that little boy tries to find her. So that's the story.
Did you incorporate that into the storyline, or did which came first? Is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, well, the true story inspired me to write the story, but my grandmother had brilliantly covered all her tracks. The birth certificate for my uncle was not right. He could never find out who his father was, and he didn't get a chance to meet his mother again in later life. And so I just thought, well, I wonder who the father was. So then obviously the rest of it is all fictionalized, but there are threads of truth. So there's the character is called Clara, so that's my grandmother, who then goes on to have her family of... oh, it's awful to say, isn't it, that, you know, illegal children, one of whom was my mother. Then I thought, well, I'll pick up a story of someone who was like my mother in the Second World War and carry on like that. So it's a sort of a sweeping saga of 3 generations across 100 years and 2 world wars.
So they are daughters of Cornwall. Could I ask you, I mean, I know you live in Cornwall now, but are you a daughter of Cornwall?
By some terrible happenstance, I'm not. But in my heart, I definitely am. And a lot of my family were in the West Country, but not me. So we all have a place, don't we, in the world where we feel very close and very at home. And it happens to be here for me. And I've had such a close relationship with Cornwall since I was a little girl coming on holiday. Always wanted to live here. Always wanted to be a speedboat driver, you know.
Yeah. Well, you see, that I have to say, it's a part of the world, shamefully. I don't know a lot. I haven't visited a lot. I think you brought me once.
I did take you a couple of times, actually. But it is, I mean, the beaches are absolutely stunning. The coastline is stunning. The people are wonderful, aren't they, Fern?
Yeah. Oh, so funny.
Yeah.
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 And just very warm and welcoming. And yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, at the moment, of course, it's very, very quiet. And on one hand, it's a thrill to have the beach to yourself. On the other hand, you know, I'm saying we, I'm hardly Cornish, but I feel now that I am local. You know, we're longing for the businesses to pick up again and the restaurants to open, as long as people are careful. That's the thing. You want people to constantly obey the rules, don't you?
Yeah, you do. And you see, so interesting for you because, you know, you spent so much of your time in London because of television work and that sort of thing.
Born in London.
Right. And would you say now this is your home? And if it is, what do you get out of it? What is your life like?
Yeah. Yes, I do believe this is my home now until I'm put in the old people's home. That's fine. And life down here is it's a lot slower, but that doesn't mean to say people's brains aren't slow. You know, we're all very funny, I hope. There's a lot of socializing, not partying and necessarily, but in the shops, everyone will go, hello, all right, you know, all right, you're all right, all right. And it's just lovely. And everybody seems to know each other. And I have found, which in later life is a wonderful thing, to find new friends who mean a great deal to me. So I have a lot of very nice female friends who are clever, funny, talented, all of those things, and local. And the local garden centre, when they couldn't open the garden centre, they decided to turn the cafe into a fish and chip takeaway. So you would ring up, order your fish and chips, turn up, pay, socially distanced, go back to your car, and they'd come up with your bag of fish and chips. And on Saturdays, they'd be selling lobsters and crabs and flatfish and things off the back of the truck.
Lovely. You're making me jealous now. You're making me jealous now.
Sounds
Just
idyllic.
one more thing. Lots of people are doing all sorts of exercise during lockdown. I gather you were trying to do a side plank, was it? And didn't go quite so well?
Well, you know, apparently I'm not 25 after all. I did try a side plank and I've trapped a nerve in the shoulder. But last Friday, I got some treatment for it. I had a bit more on Monday. And today I woke up and it's feeling so much better. So I think I'm on the mend. Hurrah. And then I can get back on the bike and start some training because I've got to do Land's End to John O'Groats next September 2021. I'll be 64. What am I doing?
You'll be fantastic.
Well done, well
Keeps
done.
you young.
Thank the bathroom door's opening. Oh, good.
Stop.
Daughters of Cornwall, that's Fern's 9th book, is out now. Lovely to talk to you.
Keep
Take
well.
care.
Oh, it's lovely. Love to London. Bye.
See you then.
And listen, you don't have to invite us down for some weekend down there, then have crabs and fish and chips or whatever. But anyway, just saying.
You're welcome.
Just saying. That's good. OK, be in touch. Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you, Fern. Bye-bye.